Hey, Ant, guess what?
What?
A week from today, the 49ers will be playing football. It's almost that time. Are you excited?
I'm very excited. It feels like it's been a long off season getting to this point, and it was a long off season because the 49ers didn't make the playoffs for the first time since 2020. So, yeah, we're finally to 49ers football. It is within a week, Mark. I can't wait.
And I guess we have other people listening or watching right now. So I'll say welcome to the Red and Bold Show. We're thrilled to have you, thrilled to be talking 49ers football, and super excited to actually have a game that we can preview and break down our thoughts on. I am one of your hosts, Marc Adams. You can find me at 49ers Camelot. And I'm joined by Anthony Robertson, who you can find at 49ers Cutback. Ant, yesterday you had a good day of college football. I saw that you were excited that your Seminoles upset Alabama. Anytime Alabama loses, I'm happy about that.
It was a huge upset. Florida State changed coordinators, changed quarterback, and they come in and they set the world on fire. It was a very fun weekend, so far of college football. I was looking forward to it, and it just is a prelude to what we're going to get when the 49ers play Seattle. But yeah, it was a great Saturday for me. Florida State comes up with a big upset, and now what can they do in the future? I love me some college football. Especially because those guys are going to eventually become NFL players, and I think it's a lot of fun. But yeah, I'm super excited. And if this has got me thinking one thing, it's now we just need to follow it up with a 49ers win next week in Seattle, and then I'll be sitting on cloud nine.
That's great. So Joe Carmack is in the chat. He said, "Welcome back, Ant. Did you go somewhere?"
Yeah, I'm not here all the time, Mark. I'm on like 23 and a half hour breaks. I do like 30-minute episodes, 23 and a half hour break, like Tony Reale used to say around the horn. But I'm back, and then how's it going to Hugh and everyone in chat? And Joe, I'm really excited to talk 49ers. So this is going to be a fun episode.
Yeah, I'm excited to preview that game in Seattle against the hated Seahawks. Let's jump in, though, with some Jauan Jennings news. The last time we spoke, this had not come out yet, but according to John Lynch, Jauan Jennings wanted to, I guess he asked to be traded. Lynch said it's not going to happen. The question is, what's going to happen next? Is Jauan Jennings going to play next Sunday? Is he actually injured? I mean, Lynch says that, hey, both can be true. There could be a contract situation and he can be injured. And I would agree with that. Certainly, if he has an injury that we don't want to get worse, I'm all in favor of holding him out. I just hope that this isn't so contract driven that he misses week one because he's wanting a new contract, because I don't think he's getting it.
Yeah, I don't think he's getting it either. And the rubber's going to meet the road. I've been saying this now a couple episodes in a row for Jauan Jennings, because they're going to decide this week. They're either going to clear him or they are more than likely going to put him on IR for this reason. If he's really not healthy and the imaging says he's not healthy, you've got to create a roster spot so you have another wide receiver that can go out there and play. You have guys on your practice squad you want to elevate. We know that MVS is prepared, and he's probably going to be coming up to play. But you also have the opportunity to put him on the exemption list as a holdout player and create that opportunity. And that's a list that you can come back whenever you injure holdout. And if he's not going on the field and the 49ers medical team has deemed him as healthy, then that's exactly what's going to happen, because you don't put him on IR if he's healthy. That makes him out 4 games. You put him on that exemption list. We've seen a lot of players do it. So I think there's going to be a decision. I still believe that Jauan Jennings is going to show up. Either it's going to be Monday or it will be Wednesday, whenever it's supposed to be that he needs to be at practice. I think he's going to show up and play, because it still is important for him to make money and get the money that he needs. And he doesn't get paid if he's on that exemption list. But also he's got to now prove to 31 other teams that he can produce like he did last year, because last year is still an anomaly for him. He went from, the year before only catching 24 passes. So prove that you can do that again, and then you prove you're worth over $20 million to one of those other teams. So he needs to be on the field to be able to produce, and the 49ers need him to produce. This is something that's mutually beneficial for both parties, and I think that's why it ends up working out. But if he really is hurt, then they'll have to do something. If not, he needs to be on the field or he needs to be on the exemption list.
Yeah, and of course, Kendrick Bourne is coming to Santa Clara tomorrow to try out with the 49ers. Supposedly is going to Washington on Tuesday. Would you like to see them make him some kind of offer that keeps him from going on to Washington? Maybe, hey, don't let him leave the building without a contract. Or do you think, I mean, do the 49ers really need him? Because once the season goes down the road and you have Brandon Ayuk and you have Demarcus Robinson and you have Ricky Pearsall and you have Jawan Jennings, where is Kendrick Bourne going to fit into that? But it does seem like in these early weeks, they might need him.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the toughest parts of the 49ers wide receiver room. If you have everybody that you have under contract healthy and ready to go, you don't need Kendrick Bourne. But the issue is, what is Jordan Watkins' status? Is he going to be ready to go week 1, or is that still a question mark? If that is a question mark, Kendrick Bourne gives you some versatility. He can play X, he can play Z, he can handle all the wide receiver positions, which, you like to see. So I think that there's a chance. And I thought one of the most interesting parts of the tweet that was going out on social media was that he had agreed to framework on a contract with both the 49ers and the Washington Commanders, which means they just got to sell him, right? He's got to decide if he wants to play for Kyle Shanahan in the organization that he played for first, or if he wants to go play with Deebo Samuel in Washington. That's basically what it comes down to. I think in the early parts of this season, the 49ers could really benefit from having him. He could be their kind of Demarcus Robinson player at first, and he kind of gives you some flexibility. Him and MVS have different talents. If Jawan Jennings isn't playing, you get a Jawan Jennings kind of third down threat. It's not the third and Jawan, but it's a guy that made a lot of third down catches in his career. So he understands. Kyle's confident and comfortable with him. I think in that part it makes sense. But you're right. As soon as you start getting Demarcus Robinson back, you get, Brandon Ayuk back, all of a sudden it's a crowded wide receiver room and you have to make a decision. But we know the 49ers purposely put MVS on the practice squad. His contract is not going to be guaranteed. A veteran contract not guaranteed. There's still going to be fluid movement with this 49ers roster. And there's a chance Kendrick Bourne's with the team early, maybe not with the team late. Same thing with MVS. But it also does, Mark, I think, keep it to where if MVS doesn't work out, you have somebody that can work out. But I'm sure they're going to want to take a really good look at his injury, make sure everything's healed up and that he's ready to go before they ultimately make a decision. But I think there's a chance that Kendrick Bourne never makes it to Washington and they try to keep him in San Francisco because I think they need him until Brandon Ayuk potentially comes back, especially with question marks about guys like Jordan Watkins.
Yeah, it is a tricky situation, and we'll get into some 49ers Seahawks stuff here in a minute and talk kind of how we see this going next Sunday with a depleted wide receiver room. I don't know if you saw my article for 49ers Web Zone yesterday. It was based on ESPN's Matt Miller naming Upton Stout as an under-the-radar rookie. So they did this, he and a few others did this article where they gave their predictions for who might win offensive rookie of the year, defensive rookie of the year, and so on. And one of the sections was on under the radar rookies, and Upton Stout was the third one that they mentioned. The question that I think that we have going into week 1 is whether or not Upton Stout will start at nickel corner. Because I think a lot of people are leaning that way, but he missed part of training camp. He missed all of preseason. And so I just don't know if you want to throw a rookie who hasn't been in there some here lately, if you want to throw him right in the mix. So do you expect Upton Stout? Do you expect Diamador Lenore? Do you expect somebody else in that spot? What are you thinking that we're going to see next Sunday when the 49ers defense takes the field in Seattle.
Yeah, I just talked this thing out. I did an episode about defensive depth chart, what it was going to look like. And I was going through the Upton Stout versus Chase Lucas because I believe that Renardo Green and Diamond Lenore are going to be your two outside corners week 1 in Seattle. I think that they are sold on Demo playing outside and trying to cover the number 1 wide receiver for all these teams that they're going to be playing. He is the new Charvarius Ward. He's the new guy. They paid him like it, and they're going to expect him to go out there and play like it. And he's up to the task. Diamo Lenore is a hyena for a reason. There's a reason that he's featured with the new uniforms, right? He's one of those guys now that they're kind of hitching their trailer to for the season. I do believe that Upton Stout has a chance to start, and I keep talking myself into this because I seen him play at practice, and watching him at training camp, this dude's footwork is really good. His change of direction is phenomenal. And I am a huge fan of the way that he covered. And I watched him cover, guys like Ricky Pearsall and Juwan Jennings, and especially Pearsall in the slot. And Pearsall's got shake, and he's got the ability to create separation on his own. And Upton Stout is up to the task to cover a guy like Pearsall. And I know Pearsall's not completely proven, but as a route runner, I have confidence in his abilities. And I watched him cover guys like D-Rob and those guys out there practice, and he can hang. I think the question mark is going to be, can Robert Saleh come to the conclusion that Upton Stout gives his team the best chance to win? If at any point he thinks that's the case, you go let him learn. You go let him get out there and it's trial by fire. Go see what he can do. Go see if he can be great. And every single year, young players get the opportunity to step up. Some of them meet the challenge, and some of them don't. A couple of years ago, actually, I think it was 2022, Sam Womack got that opportunity, and he wasn't up to the challenge. He did not work out, and they had to turn it over to Diamond Lenore, and Lenore never looked back. But I think that there's a chance they go Stout because of the upside and what he could provide, and I think he was winning that job before he got hurt. I think Chase Lucas is a great player to have in case Upton Stout has some struggles. You could potentially go with Chase Lucas. We know he's going to be studied. He's going to be up to knowing what he needs to do against Jackson Smith and Jigba and Cooper Kupp, and he'll be up to it. But I think there's a chance to go Upton Stout. And if not, it will be Chase Lucas, but I'm leaning towards Stout. I would say right now I'm going 60-40, but I would love to see them put the young guy out there and see what he can do. But if it's not him, I think we're in good hands with Chase Lucas as well. But either way, I think it's going to be one of those two guys at the nickel when the 49ers line up in Seattle.
Invader 49er said can't do any worse than what Jimmy Ward did when he was thrown into the fire under Fangio as a rookie. And yeah, I would hope not, because he was terrible in that game against the Bears. He was burned repeatedly. He just wasn't ready for that position. So I would hope that he's better than that. Josh asked, who are the starting safeties? I'm going to go with Jason Pinnock and Marquise Siegel. But I don't know. Maybe Jair Brown is going to be one of those.
I think that the free safety position and the nickel corner position, it's interesting because it's a veteran who hasn't been in the league very long, who's not proven, in Jair Brown and Chase Lucas, and rookies who really came on the scene. And for Marquise Siegel, he didn't prove it all of the offseason because he was injured with that core muscle injury until preseason, but proved it in preseason. I mean, he looked really good. I think when it comes down to it for Marquise Siegel is, do you feel confident enough with him in coverage?
Yeah.
I think this guy learns at such a high clip that he's going to fix mistakes that he makes. There's a chance Marquise Siegel starts. I have kind of leaned towards, I think they're going to go with Jair early, but I would not bat an eye if they go with Marquise Siegel. And I'm super hyped for it, honestly. Marquise Siegel and Upton Stout are two of the rookies I'm super pumped about because I see their potential not just now, halfway through the year, but in the future, what these guys are going to provide. And Marquise Siegel and Malik Mustafa eventually are going to be so good together. They complement each other really well. And Upton Stout also stepping up and making some plays. So I think it's going to be Jair and Jason Pinnock, but I would not be shocked if it's Marquise Siegel. And in fact, I'll be more excited if it's Marquise Siegel. That means he won the job. Hey, we might take some lumps here and there with those two young guys out there, but halfway through the year, imagine how good those guys could be. I love that. It's kind of like some of the old 49ers used to say. Steve Young used to say that, you studied, now it's your time, now go be great. And I think that's a good opportunity for these guys.
Yeah. I do agree with you that it's very likely that it's going to be Jair Brown early on, but I'm still going to side with Siegel. I just think that, like you mentioned, his upside is so much better, so much higher that he's got to learn at some point, and so why not just get him out there and get him going? All right, let's talk 49ers and Seahawks, because there is a game this time next week they will be playing. I haven't seen what the kickoff time is, but I would assume it's about this time. So let's jump in. So when the 49ers have the ball, so when they're on offense, the question is going to be, how are they going to score points? It's never been easy scoring in Seattle, although they have played well there in recent years, especially when we look at the situation where the wide receiver room is kind of in flux. Is Juwan Jennings going to be there? If he is, then I feel much better about the offense. But this offense, regardless, is always really good. I mean, yeah, there's bumps along the way. There's difficulties. There's times where they don't quite move the ball like maybe they should. Brock Purdy has good and bad moments. The offensive line has good and bad moments. But by and large, this offense is usually pretty good, regardless of who's at quarterback or what have you. So the question is, to me, if the wide receiver room is depleted, to me that spells heavy Kittle and even heavier run game. I'm going to find this stat that here in just a minute while you answer, but it's critical that the 49ers run the ball, especially on the road, and especially in a situation where maybe their run game or their wide receiver room is down. So how do you think that they're going to fare against the Seattle defense? Is it going to be a run-heavy game plan? Is it going to be a Kittle-heavy game plan? Or are they going to throw it all over the field regardless of who the wide receivers are?
Well, I think they're going to go into this game and they're going to want to establish a run game. And I think that there's certain places you want to attack when you're running against the Seattle Seahawks. One thing you want to do is you don't want to attack them right in the middle of their defense. They have some of the biggest interior defensive line, Byron Murphy, Jaron Reed. You got Leonard Williams. These guys are absolute monsters on the inside, and you don't exactly have the best interior offensive line. So that's not the location you want to attack. But we've seen the 49ers in the past have a lot of success against the Seattle Seahawks, attacking them with the outside zone. And I think that's perfect for how the 49ers want to marry their offense in this game. They want to attack them on the edge. They got smaller edge defenders that they could go after and take advantage of, using George Kittle, using the new investment Luke Farrell, and using Kyle Juszczyk out of their 21 personnel or 12 personnel packages. Go ahead and attack on the edge and then take advantage of some of the linebacker deficiencies. You got guys like Tyrese Knight, right? He's an okay player, a young guy, but these aren't exactly marquee linebackers, and this is a place to take advantage of. You get the run game going. You now have two legitimate number one backs. You have Christian McCaffrey. We know all the things that he can do. And then you add Brian Robinson on top of that, and he's going to be able to run in this offense as well consistently. And so by giving him a heavy dose of those guys and then playing the play action off of that, you are going to make these linebackers engage, and it's going to open up the middle of the field to be able to hit George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, and a lot of the other players like Ricky Pearsall, Russell Gage. This is where it starts really fitting into what the 49ers want to do. So expect heavy personnel groupings, 21 and 12 personnel, a lot of outside zone and toss plays to take advantage of those guys who are a little bit smaller on the outside, where also you can use your more athletic offensive linemen and tight ends to get to your linebackers. And then when they start engaging on that run, take advantage of the passing game over the middle of the field between the numbers. I think that can be highly successful for the 49ers early. That's why a guy like MVS is important as well, because he can take the safety deep and take the top off the defense. A lot of it plays well. Now, I expect Seattle to counter that, by loading the box, very much like Pete Carroll did in week 2 of the preseason with 8 guys in the box, maybe even 6 defensive linemen at times up at the line of scrimmage. If that happens, Brock Purdy might have to throw some footballs in some tight windows and kind of get them to ease up a little bit. But that's how you want to do it. Run game, play action, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, and then take your shots with Ricky Pearsall when you have the chance.
So Lori in the chat asks, isn't Seattle's D really good against the run?
They are, but it's where they're at, right? It's that interior part of their defensive line. Byron Murphy, Jaron Reed, and Leonard Williams are really good. But when you start getting on the outside, you find like a guy like Nwosu or a Boye Mafi, you can run the ball against them. All you have to do is get them to get pushed. You get a small movement on one of those interior defensive linemen. You kind of pin them, and you get a little bit of an edge where you can run. And then after that, it's about playing against those safeties and playing against those linebackers, and there's an advantage there. So are they good against the run? Yes. Are they going to have to play with some heavy boxes to stop the 49ers' big sets? Yes, and that creates some matchup problems. We've seen Love struggle to cover George Kittle one-on-one, and Kittle have big games against Seattle. Part of the reason is when you have to sell out to stop one part of the game, it makes it difficult. So they are good, but it's the 3 interior guys that are really good. The guys on the outside and the linebackers, they're good, but they're not great, and that's where you can take advantage of them.
All right, so here's the numbers. No, I had it and I lost it. Dang it. All right, I'm gonna have to find this, but basically, man, I really need to find this because it's going to be too hard for me to make this. All right, I'm going to move on to the next thing while I look for it. I had it and lost it. Okay, so here's the next part. When the 49ers are on defense, what concerns you? What do you think needs to happen? Are you worried that they might get run on? What are your thoughts on Sam Darnold? I mean, this is his first game as the quarterback of the Seahawks. Are you afraid that he's going to come out throwing the ball all over the place? He doesn't have the same offensive mind that he had in Minnesota or in San Francisco. He doesn't have Justin Jefferson or some of those weapons that he had. Could we see the Minnesota version of Sam Darnold, at least earlier in the season when he was playing really well? Or might we see the old Sam Darnold that kind of reverts back to seeing some ghosts at times? What are you worried about, and what do you think we need to see the 49ers do on defense?
Well, I think that Kubiak is going to try to establish the run game. I mean, I think every team, especially early on, is going to test the 49ers' mettle when it comes to stopping the run because this defense is still a wide nine. They still are susceptible to duo blocks up front and some interior push. Now they've invested a lot of draft capital and a lot of investment in getting defensive tackles that can stop that. It's about getting an edge like Mikael Williams that's not going to give up the edge and not going to get pushed out. So they've invested mightily in linebackers and D tackles and D ends that can stop the run. I can tell you right now, this is what Robert Saleh is going to do. This is his complete blueprint for the season early on, especially. Stuff them on first and second down in the run game, and then make them earn it on third down, whether it's 3rd and 6 and longer, by bringing in Bryce Huff, bringing in Yetur Gross-Matos and Mikael Williams to rush the passer from the interior and just put pressure. And if you can keep them into those situations, your chances of getting off the field improve mightily. So you just want to make them face third downs, and eventually you're going to get off the field. They're not going to consistently be able to convert on third down if you're forcing 3rd and 6 and beyond. So I think that is a main goal. I think the concern is going to be, because Seattle is invested in getting the run game going, that they are going to be able to run the football and establish a run game. If they can, then Sam Darnold becomes a really good quarterback, because Sam Darnold playing in front of the sticks is very viable because he wants to get rid of the football quickly. He wants to get the ball in his playmakers' hands. Play action starts opening things up, either horizontal windows or vertical windows that he can find some space to throw the ball. Now, his wide receivers are different than they were in Minnesota, so you're going to have a different dynamic. He had Jordan Addison, right? He had Justin Jefferson. Those guys could stretch the ball vertically, and he took a lot of shots with his big arm down the field. Now you're going to have Jackson Smith and Jigba and Cooper Kupp, and this offense is going to be more about spreading the offense horizontally. So that could change some things. So they have to establish the run to be able to get some of those plays that make it easier for him to throw the ball. So I don't know how successful they're going to be. I do know if the 49ers stop the run early against Seattle and they put the onus on Sam Darnold to win, they're going to have a lot of success getting to Sam Darnold because this offensive line still has tremendous question marks, and they're starting a rookie offensive lineman too. He's good, but they're starting a young guy as well. So this is a situation the 49ers have to take advantage of, but it starts how Robert Saleh wants it to start. Stop the run and earn your right to rush the passer on third down. If they do that, I think they'll be okay against Sam Darnold and the Seattle Seahawks offense.
Hugo in the chat asks, who will be the starting defensive tackles?
I think it's going to be Kalia Davis and Jordan Elliott. I think that Jordan Elliott was their choice. They chose him over Malik Collins. Him coming back in that third preseason game, I think we see the element of his game that makes him the 49ers choice is that ability to wreak havoc in the backfield through penetration and disruption. Not a lot of the other defensive tackles have that right now. So I think he's going to be one. Kalia Davis, as long as he's healthy. Now he's been working on a side field. We'll see what happens. I think that generates the best rotation. Your second group, Alfred Collins, Jordan Jefferson, the new guy, CJ West. You've got a lot of bodies you can kind of throw in there on first and second down. Elliott's the one guy, maybe Kalia Davis, that have 3 down potential. They can stop the run and rush the passer. Inconsistency is what you're going to get, right? You're going to get plays where they get in the backfield to have they cause a 2-yard loss, and the next play they're going to get blown up for 2 or 3 yards, and you're going to have a run. That's who those guys are. That's why you eventually want to go to Alfred Collins and CJ West and Jordan Jefferson, because those guys are going to be more consistent stopping the run. But early on, expect Jordan Elliott and Kalia Davis to kind of get this ball rolling.
What did you think about the Jefferson addition? That happened after we last talked. So what did you like that pickup?
I did. I think that he's a big, violent man. You know, I mean, his hands are very violent. The way that he plays, it's aggressiveness. I think he's got a little bit more lateral quickness than a guy like Evan Anderson. So I think when you were looking at an apples to apples comparison, he's just a little bit further along than Evan Anderson. He's got a little bit more height on him, a little bit more length. He's played a lot more football in the NFL. And so I thought that was a good pickup. I think it also makes it so you're not just throwing CJ West out there right away after he dealt with the hyperextended knee. And I think Jordan Jefferson and Alfred Collins together, I mean, that's a big run-stopping Bravo group. I kind of like that together. But it's another guy who's been a two-gapper, played in a different scheme, and has got to develop that ability to play beyond the line of scrimmage. These guys come in, they're used to eating up blockers and hanging around the line of scrimmage. Now you're going to be getting in the backfield, penetrating. So he's going to have to somewhat get used to doing that. He's not used to playing that way yet, but he has it in the cards. Watch his Senior Bowl film. You could see it. So I think he's going to be a lot of fun. He's really going to add to this football team, but expect him to kind of pick up, really start making plays week 3, week 4, as he acclimates to this 49ers defensive philosophy.
All right. So I found that stat that has to do with the 49ers running the ball. Okay. So since 2019, and this includes the postseason, since 2019, when the 49ers run the ball more than they throw it, they're 49-6. And those 6 losses that included like when Brock Purdy tore his UCL in Philly. That includes the snowstorm in Buffalo last year. It included the monsoon that Trey Lance started in 2021. So those are included, but 49-6 when they run the ball more than they throw the ball. Now, when they throw the ball more than they run the ball, their record is 20-38. So almost twice as many losses as wins when they throw the ball more than they run it. That is a huge, stark difference between this team running and passing predominantly. What are your thoughts when you see that? Does that further push the narrative that they need to get back to their running ways?
I think they know they need to get back to their running ways, because one thing that running the football does is, number one, it eats up the clock. It keeps the time of possession in your favor. It keeps your defense off the field, and your defense can rest. It also keeps opposing offenses off the field as well, who are dynamic and able to score at a rapid pace. You don't want to be in these shootouts in the NFL. But running the football consistently sets up everything for Kyle Shanahan. He is the king of marrying the run game to the passing game and the play action pass. And that's how this offense has been built and how he's ran it since 2017. And when we've seen him kind of have to go off target and not be successful running the football, it's given them some problems. Even when they draft offensive linemen, they draft them first for their physical traits in being able to get to the second level, in run blocking, and everything is based off that. They don't want to be in traditional pass sets. So it just serves the best for the players, is the best for the team. Time of possession benefits the defense. The defense is then not tired. They can close out games. Everything works together, but it starts with having a really good running game. And that's why when the 49ers run the ball 40 plus times, they basically win every single time. You give it to them, they run it 35 times, it's a really good chance of winning. So it is definitely based on the running game, why it was so important to have a running back too, like Brian Robinson, who now Kyle Shanahan could be, hey, McCaffrey's out. That's okay. I don't switch my offense. I'm rolling. And I love that part of this. So, yeah, the run game is going to be back, and it's going to be back heavy, and it's very important for the success of the overall team this season for that running game to go.
Yeah, Strawberry Reacts in the chat says that stat is a little misleading. When you're blowing a team out, you run the ball to drain the clock. When you're behind, you throw the ball more. But how often are you really that far ahead that you're trying to drain the clock? Plus, we all know that the fan base complains all the time that when Shanahan has a lead, he throws instead of runs. So yeah, I guess you can make stats say whatever you want them to say in some ways, but I don't entirely agree that that stat is misleading.
I think that sometimes stats, you can look at them however you want. The one thing that we do know about the 49ers is that when they run the ball successfully, they have a better chance to win than if they don't. And you're right. If you're playing from behind, you're going to throw the ball a whole lot more. You want to stop playing from behind. You want to play in front. You want to control the clock. You want to control the tempo of a game. And that's how an offense really can take the stranglehold of a game. It's not about explosive plays. It's about methodical drives that wear down defenses. That's how you win in the fourth quarter. That's how you're able to run and push your will. That's how teams in the NFL look at you and say, you're one of the most physical teams in the NFL, is because you systematically break them down and then strategically hit them with key passes. That's what Kyle Shanahan's offense does, and that's what they're hoping to do this season.
Yeah, it's it is important to get back to that running game, because this other than 2023 when they threw the ball more, they've been at their best when they're running the ball. Now in 2023, there were times that it seemed like they were better when they threw the ball. Just you had Debo, you had Ayuk, who was at his best. You had Kittle. There just was a lot going on in that season. Would include Juwan Jennings, but he barely caught any balls in the regular season. So, okay, let me ask you this: where does San Francisco have an advantage, and where does Seattle have an advantage?
On offense or on defense? Just either place?
Yeah, either way.
I think the 49ers have a real advantage when it comes to the tight end position. I think that, the 49ers using that tight end against Seattle's secondary is where they're going to have the advantage. I think that's why they've gotten Nick Emenwari, right? They drafted a guy like Nick Emenwari to eventually try to cover George Kittle, because George Kittle has given Seattle fits over the last couple seasons. And he's going to continue to do that because they don't have a matchup for him in that safety room. And that's going to be where Kittle's going to really excel in the passing game, but also run blocking as well. He's an advantage against those smaller edge players, in Nwosu. And Boye Mafi's not small, but George Kittle can still do a good job on the edge. And I think that gives him a real advantage. Now, where I think Seattle has an advantage over the 49ers, I think it really comes down to two positions, and I'm going to stick with the defensive line. That interior defensive line is going to be a problem for the 49ers interior offensive line. Ben Barch and Jake Brendel and Dominic Pooney, and Dominic Pooney, hopefully he plays, going against Leonard Williams, Byron Murphy, and Jaron Reed. That's going to be an absolute slugfest. Leonard Williams is one of the biggest problems there is in this league, and I've seen him be able to throw big Trent Williams around. This dude is just a different type of player in this league. So I do believe that is going to be one of the biggest problems for the 49ers is how do they handle that interior defensive line. I believe if they can get out on the edge, they can establish a run game there and make these guys chase ball carriers all game, screen them, do things like that, get them running, you can kind of wear them down. If you run right at them, they're going to be a problem. If you get to 3rd and long, those guys on the inside are going to be a problem. So that's the one advantage for Seattle for sure. There's a couple other ones I'm concerned about. Jackson Smith and Jigba and Cooper Kupp against the 49ers nickel corner. I think that's a little bit concerning as well. But overall, I think the 49ers will like this matchup overall against Seattle.
So a lot of outside running, side to side, maybe some end arounds to get those defensive tackles moving from one sideline to another. That's what we want to see them do, right?
Oh, 100%. Because you run right at Leonard Williams or Byron Young or Jaron Reed, they're going to eat you. But if they're having to chase you down, eventually you're going to start to wear down. And that's one of the keys is getting these guys moving. And that's why the 49ers offense is so successful because though you don't have the interior push a lot of time from the build of the offensive linemen, they're not guys who get a lot of movement in the point of attack. That's why it can be tough to run in the red zone sometimes. But moving on the outside where you're super athletic, it gives you an advantage. Now, the problem is Seattle's interior D linemen, Byron Murphy and Leonard Williams, they're still pretty quick, right? They're still athletic and they can still run. You're just hoping by the time you get to the fourth quarter, you've done enough that they're a step slower and now you have an advantage. Yeah,
it's gonna be an interesting matchup for sure. Because we know the 49ers end up in a lot of 3rd and shorts. And so I don't want Brock Purdy taking too many shots on those quarterback keepers. So hopefully they can move the ball with some consistency. If the game comes down to a 50-yard Jake Moody attempt, are you going to be confident or are you going to be shaking in your seat, like on your couch watching? Are you gonna be sweating or are you gonna be like, yeah, he's got this?
I'm gonna be just the way I was when Mike Kofer took over as kicker from Ray Wersching, where I did not know. I was completely nervous the entire time, and I think Jake Moody is going to make me nervous all season, and a lot of the victories are probably going to hinge on his back, whether it's extra points or field goals. He has to make them. What I'm hoping is that he's going to get in a groove and he's going to be able to make it happen. But I'm not going to sit here and blow smoke up anyone's behind and tell you that I am confident that Jake Moody's going to make every field goal that he lines up for. I'm going to be super nervous and hopefully he makes it. And if he does, great. If he doesn't, I'm going to be very frustrated. But I think that's just the kind of the life of a 49ers fan right now, is that our sanity kind of hinges on number 4 during game day. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I know. Gold-blooded said, really, why you got to go there with Moody? Yeah, sorry. It's gonna come down. But, you mentioned Ray Wersching. I had Lowbridge mentions that Kofor to Ray Wersching. You that old school? Yeah, we both are. We both are old. I watched the part of the 1983 playoff matchup against the 49ers and the Lions the other day. That was the one where the Lions kicker missed the game winner at the end. Do you remember that game?
Yeah, I've went back. I was not like old enough to watch that game live or anything, but I've went back and watched all of those games. 1983, I do remember that.
That hurts because I was old enough I watched that one live. But in that game, it was interesting because Montana wasn't at his best, and he turned the ball over a time or two. And so it just kind of was interesting that even Joe sometimes in the playoffs wasn't Joe. Ray Wershing missed multiple kicks, and I was just thinking, man, if that was Jake Moody, people would be going crazy. So yeah, there's things happen. Roger Craig fumbled a ball, which, he obviously did in the NFC Championship game in 1990. And in Super Bowl 23, he fumbled the ball. So look, that happens. You have great players aren't always great. That just happens. But I just thought that was interesting. Okay, here's the question. Who wins next Sunday? Do you think it's going to be the 49ers? You think it's going to be the Seahawks? And I don't know if you make picks or anything like that. I do for 49ers Web Zone. I haven't yet made my pick. I'm probably going to lean more 49ers, but I'm not super confident in that pick.
Yeah, I'm going to be doing picks all year because of FanDuel, and FanDuel is the title sponsor of 49ers Cutback. So lots of picks and stuff presented by FanDuel this season. And yeah, this game is going to be interesting for the 49ers. And I want to see what the numbers end up being. FanDuel had the 49ers as a 2.5-point favorite for this football game. And I think that it kind of plays. I think a field goal game, this is a divisional matchup. You've got some interesting dynamics between the two teams. You've got Kubiak on each side of the ball, but also a Kubiak that's been in the room. You also have Sam Darnold, who was here with Clint Kubiak. So you got that going together. You've got a different offensive scheme going on in Seattle with some different weapons. They're going young at the tight end position. So I think that there's some things to fill out. Now, one of the interesting things about this game early on is how good is this offense going to be early, getting their footing, running a new offense. Now, it's not new for Darnold, but there are players, there are offensive linemen that are going to be doing some different things within this scheme, and how much are they going to pick it up and how much rhythm are they going to find? I think if the 49ers can establish the run game and get the offense going, they have a chance to get an early lead. I do think the defense for Seattle is going to be good. I think you're going to have to earn it to be able to score points against them. But I think if you can consistently put pressure, you're going to have a chance. So I know it's really early on, and there's going to be a lot of things that happen during this week, decisions about Juwan Jennings and other players. But I do think the 49ers are going to cover. I think they're going to win by more than 3 in this football game. And I would pick the 49ers to win because I have confidence in Brock Purdy and Christian McCaffrey. And as long as George Kittle and those guys are healthy and this defense plays as respectable as I think they're going to play, especially early, I think Robert Saleh has had some time to plan for Sam Darnold. I think that they can create a little bit of opportunity. So I would pick the 49ers to win this game, but I think it's going to be at times very contested. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, the divisional matchup feel. And I think that there's going to be times that it goes one way or the other, but ultimately the 49ers end up winning a big game in Seattle and kind of set the season and set the tone for what they need to do.
All right, let's get to a couple of questions here. Lori asks, are we even sure Bourne is 100% healthy? As far as we know, he is, but we'll find out. Have you heard anything other than that?
The only thing I heard was that the 49ers were going to look and make sure he was healthy, right? They wanted to do a medical checkup, a physical. Those are kind of normal, right? They're going to want to look at his scans and just make sure everything's on par because you don't want to sign him and then immediately have to put him on IR or anything like that. So I'm sure as long as the medical checks out, he'll be willing, but I can't say he's 100% healthy. We know New England wasn't willing to keep him on the PUP or put him on IR. They just outright released him. We know that's what he wanted, but I think if the 49ers sign off, then that's when we'll finally know that he's fully healthy.
Yeah, and I think the Patriots have been trying to phase him out anyway, so maybe this was just their opportunity. But if they sign him, then I would say that's an indication that they're at least happy with the fact that he's healthy enough. The question's going to be, if they sign him and he plays on Sunday, which I don't even know if he would at this point, but if they sign him and he plays, what's he going to look like? Now, he should know the offense since he was in San Francisco for 4 years, but that's been a while, and he hasn't, I don't know how much he of New England's training camp he was taking part of. If he was healthy, then I would guess he was taking part of most of it. So I don't even know what he would look like if they signed him. Let's say they signed him tomorrow and he starts practicing on Tuesday. I mean, the install is going to take place Wednesday. So, I mean, would you expect him to have much of an impact at all?
I don't know. You know, I mean, I don't know where he's at as far as health wise, how he would feel. I do know he'll have a pretty good understanding of this offense. He understands the timing. But does he have any chemistry with Brock Purdy? I don't know.
Right.
If that they could develop that early. Yeah, I don't know what that means for him. You know, I know that they brought in MVS. I think it's likely he's going to help this football team, but it hinges on Jauan Jennings, right? I think if Jennings is ready to go, you don't need Kendrick Bourne week 1, so you could leave him inactive. So I think that there's that. But if Jauan Jennings doesn't play, if you look at the 49ers wide receiver room, you kind of need Kendrick Bourne, whether he can go give you 15 or 20 snaps or whatever it is, or you got to go with Robbie Chosen off the practice squad as well. Like that's kind of the situation you're in. And then you have to decide, is it better to have Chosen, who's been working with Brock, or Kendrick Bourne, who you feel more comfortable with probably? I don't know. I'm just hoping that they can figure this thing out. But you're right. There's a real chance that Kendrick Bourne wouldn't be ready to go week 1. And I think that's just the easiest way to say it. He might not be ready. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I heard Larry Krueger. I'm trying to see if I can see who it was. He did an interview with somebody, some NFL analyst that used to be an NFL quarterback. Can't think, maybe Todd Husak. I think it's Todd Husak. And he asked, how long does it take a quarterback and a wide receiver to really start to gel? And whoever it was he spoke to said it takes at least 3 weeks. And so if that's the case, I don't know. I'm not a quarterback. So I really can't answer that. But if that's the case, then I just don't know how much of an impact Kendrick Bourne could make, especially in that first week.
When it comes to one thing about that, when it comes to chemistry with the wide receiver, is when you're in these timing offenses like this, as long as Brock knows that player is going to get from point A to point B and he can trust that, he can get the timing down pretty quick. Now, I'm not saying they're going to have chemistry to be able to, understand that when he gets disrupted, where he's going to be. But the timing offenses definitely make it a little bit more easy as long as they're going to be there when they're supposed to be there. So that can kind of shuffle a little bit depending on the offensive scheme. But I think you're right as far as, I don't know if it takes 3 weeks, like was said, in a timing offense like this. But I don't know if 1 week is enough for sure, especially with the way practices are going to be going.
I mean, we saw in 2019 when the 49ers went out and got Emmanuel Sanders, he and Jimmy Garoppolo gelled pretty quick. I mean, I don't remember which game it was, but it was one of his first games with the 49ers where Garoppolo hit him on some sideline route where he turned toward the sideline. And as soon as he turned, the ball was right there. It was a gorgeous throw. The timing was impeccable. And it just seemed like it looked like something that Montana and Clark did, or Montana and Rice. But I don't remember which game that was. I doubt it was the first game, but it was one of the first ones. I don't know if you remember that, but
yeah, it was. That was the thing. Jimmy got right away got chemistry with a lot of guys, right? Like him and Trent Taylor were something. I mean, he could just find chemistry with those guys quick, and that's what I'm saying. Sometimes when you're just getting to your first read and you're going, it's going to be okay.
All right, here's a question from 49ers Throwback. Do you think Kyle will utilize McCaffrey and Brian Robinson? He's definitely going to utilize McCaffrey. Will he use Brian Robinson? I think so, because I think that he wanted to use Elijah Mitchell, but Mitchell was never healthy. And so I think that when Kyle comes out and says, we brought Brian Robinson in here to be RB2, I think that that's an indication that he's going to use him more than he has used ones in the past, like Isaac Garendo or Jordan Mason. I think that he'll use Brian Robinson more than he has the number 2 back in the past. And maybe part of that's because of McCaffrey's age and the health issues that he's had.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a concerted effort to try to keep Christian McCaffrey healthy all season. And one of the ways you do that is by utilizing Brian Robinson. And I think Kyle Shanahan was genuine when he said how much he liked Brian Robinson coming out of Alabama. And they've been huge fans of what he's done with the Washington Commanders. And I think they do feel confident that if Christian McCaffrey's out, you can trust Brian Robinson to run the football and get some yardage for your football team. And the thing about Brian Robinson is you don't have to worry about taking big losses. This guy's a guy that's going to fall forward. He's going to get extra yards. He's a chain mover. You're not going to get whole shot 50-yard, 40-yard touchdowns. For the most part, they'll happen occasionally, but you're going to get big 10, 12, 15-yard runs. And those are exactly the things that get the ball rolling and really help your football team. So I think Kyle's going to feel as confident in this as he did in 2022 when he had Christian McCaffrey and Elijah Mitchell, and he could count on Elijah Mitchell in the middle of football games to kind of give McCaffrey breaks. And I think that's what they're going to do here. So I do think they're going to utilize both guys. I don't know the extent of Brian Robinson's carries, but I do think it's going to be a little bit more significant than some of the backs that we've had over the last couple of years.
Gold-blooded, this could be my last one. Gold-blooded asked, do we see Jimmy once or twice this year? Got a feeling that he's playing the bulk of their season. I would much rather see Jimmy Garoppolo than Matthew Stafford. Now, I don't want Stafford to be hurt, but I definitely would rather face Jimmy Garoppolo. I haven't heard the latest on Stafford, so I'm not really sure.
Yeah, Stafford, I mean, that's one of the big reasons, the Rams are kind of behind the 49ers as favorites in the NFC West. 49ers right now favored to win the NFC West by most of the sports books, but especially at FanDuel. And part of the reason is it's Matt Stafford. Stafford, that back, it's just he's out there. He can practice now, but what's going to happen when he starts taking hits?
Yeah.
How is that going to affect him? Is he going to be trying to protect himself, getting rid of the football, throwing it away a little bit more? Part of Matthew Stafford's ability is his ability to stretch out plays, make things happen. He even takes off sometimes, but he's willing to stand in there and take hits. And can he take hits this time? I think that's going to be a question mark, and we'll see. It could end up being Jimmy Garoppolo and Devontae Adams and Jimmy Garoppolo from the Raiders to the Rams. It could be an interesting story. Jimmy's still a capable quarterback, and they're a pretty good team with the Los Angeles Rams, but it definitely is a lot different going against Jimmy Garoppolo and Matthew Stafford. And if anyone knows Jimmy Garoppolo's deficiencies, it's Robert Saleh, it's Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers. So it could make for some interesting showdowns in some games. And I'm here for it. I love to see Jimmy playing quarterback for the Los Angeles Rams. I think that's a good situation for the 49ers. But like you said, I never want to see a player hurt. So I hope Matthew Stafford is healthy and can go just for that reason. I don't want to see guys hurt. I want to see them be able to play.
Yeah, and we know that Jimmy Garoppolo often misses linebackers, and Fred Warner is really good at making quarterbacks miss him. So I could see Warner picking off a few Garoppolo passes this season. Love to see that. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. It's been a fun talk, fun to finally get to break down an actual game. So we're not sure. We have to figure out when we're going to be back together, because when we've been doing it on Sundays, we can't do anymore because there are going to be games. So that's a good thing. We just have to figure out when we might be hanging out with y'all next. But thanks, everybody, for joining us. Please make sure that you go and like each and subscribe to each channel. We would appreciate that. Helps us out a lot. Everybody have a fun week.